that are lined up by the committee in its quest to carry out this national assignment. And before I proceed further with my address, let me inform on behalf of the presiding officers of both the Senate as well as the House of Representatives, that it is the considered opinion and decision of the leadership of the National Assembly, comprised of both chambers as a bicameral legislature, that these investigative hearings would be done as a joint committee. In other words, today you are meeting members of the ad hoc committee from the Senate. Our colleague from the House of Representatives will join us henceforth based on the list that will be sent to us by the Right Honorable Speaker. They will send their own representatives and will do everything together as a joint committee. I urge all parties to set aside the ongoing accusations and counter-accusations as we embark on a journey towards uncovering the truth behind these matters of economic importance. This ad hoc committee was set up by the Senate out of genuine concern for the well-being of our nation. Accordingly, I want to assure you that we are all committed to conducting a thorough and impartial investigation across all areas outlined in the Senate resolution of 3rd July 2024. For ease of reference, the terms of reference include to examine the pre-shipment and pre-discharge standard test parameters adopted by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority with a view to uncovering loopholes, if any, being exploited to get toxic cargoes into the country. 2, to determine the level of compliance of the NNPCL's direct sale, direct purchase arrangements in line with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, including the extent of transparency and accountability in the scheme. 3, to beam legislative searchlight on the activities of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, including payments made to transporters in the last 10 years. Also, to inquire from the NNPCL the state and/or status of the 22 depots built by the defunct NNPC to eliminate road distribution of petroleum products. Further, to engage with stakeholders within the oil and gas industry with a view to identifying possible gaps in regulating and strengthening the surveillance and monitoring structures in place to enable Nigeria to detect violations of best practice standards in the importation of products before they enter into the domestic supply chains. Also, to engage with the NNPCL with a view to understanding the extent of its determination and timeliness for the startup of government-funded oil refineries. To investigate how institutions across the importation and distribution chain failed to conduct quality sampling, shipped in products without auditing, and performed port validations by the Nigerian Customs Service, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Standards Organization of Nigeria, and Nigerian Ports Authority, and such other consequential amendments the ad hoc committee deems fit. Distinguished stakeholders, it is imperative that we all approach this process with integrity and cooperation. There will be no room for grandstanding, and I want to make it crystal clear that no one will be exempted from scrutiny. Our collective goal is to serve the overriding public interest, and it is essential that each stakeholder act actively contribute towards this noble cause. Before the takeoff of this investigative hearing, however, this ad hoc committee, constituted on the 3rd of July 2024, consistent with sections 88 and 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as altered, and in line with the legislative agenda of the 10th Senate, has been carrying out its mandate to perfect our modalities and workings with a view to ensuring fair hearing and resolving deep-seated challenges that have been clogging the functionality of our petroleum industry for decades. Also, you will agree with me that this is truly a challenging period in the recent history of our fatherland. The supply of refined petroleum products has been irregular and problematic. The long queues at filling stations is also a testament to this challenge. A situation whereby we now depend almost entirely on the importation of these products, even when we daily supply the world about 2% of its crude oil requirements, is, to say the least, highly worrisome. We also have at hand a grievous issue of national concern that directly borders on the importation of hazardous and substandard petroleum products. Under different administrations, the federal government invested billions of dollars to maintain and turn around the government-owned refineries in Kaduna, Port Harcourt, and Warri. In 2021, specifically, the Federal Executive Council approved $1.5 billion for the turnaround maintenance of the Port Harcourt refinery. Yet, this investment has not yielded significant returns. For us in the Senate, and of course now in the National Assembly, we believe it is unfair and unpatriotic to treat government business as an orphan while private businesses are flourishing. Each of these challenges has put undue pressure, not just on our foreign exchange market, but also contributes to the suboptimal performance of our domestic economy, which the executive arm of our government has been taking decisive measures to address in the interest of all Nigeria. While we have absolute confidence in the executive arm to address these challenges, the National Assembly deemed it apt to constitute this ad hoc committee to investigate diverse allegations of economic sabotage in the petroleum industry and develop a responsive regime that would deepen global best practices in the industry. The constitution of this ad hoc committee became highly imperative after an extensive debate at the July 3rd, 2024 plenary of the Senate on a motion on the importation of hazardous and substandard petroleum products into the country. The motion was sponsored by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission, distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpeyon, representing Cross River South. Initially, it was a clear case of the importation of hazardous and substandard petroleum products, which the Senate condemned in its entirety. In their contributions, distinguished senators offered diverse perspectives on the implications of such illicit practice for our national economic and security interests. These perspectives, painstakingly offered by the distinguished senators, informed the resolution of the Senate to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the alleged economic sabotage in the petroleum industry. It is pertinent to note that in the course of interactions with the identified stakeholders, this committee will visit any of their facilities that it deems necessary, especially the state-owned refineries, to ascertain their status, considering the huge funds already invested in their various turnaround maintenances without any meaningful result. The committee, alongside all Nigerians, is particularly interested in understanding why local refineries are not working, despite the substantial amounts of money spent annually on their maintenance and operations. We will closely monitor what NNPCL has been doing to address this persistent problem. Our investigation will seek to identify and hold accountable all parties involved in the importation and distribution of the adulterated petroleum products, especially premium motor spirit and automotive gas oil, and such other acts that are detrimental to the operations of the petroleum industry. This includes suppliers, importers, regulatory bodies, and any other entity that may have contributed to lapses in the petroleum industry. We will conduct a thorough review of current regulatory frameworks and procedures to identify deficiencies and recommend necessary reforms to prevent such occurrences in the future. To ensure broad participation and transparency, we have already created a platform for the general public and stakeholders to submit memoranda before the public hearings that are slated to hold from September 10 to 12, 2024. These sessions will enable us to engage directly with key actors in the petroleum industry and unravel those behind the illicit practice of importing hazardous and substandard petroleum products into the country, contrary to established protocols and standards. After the public hearing, the committee will go into closed sessions during which we will consider all the submissions from the key actors and critical stakeholders. Respected stakeholders, why did the National Assembly resolve to carry out this investigation? Will this investigative hearing end up like the previous ones? Can the National Assembly really address the challenges in the petroleum industry, given the entrenched interests of some powerful interests? These are some of the questions the media and, of course, the Nigerian people have been asking in their analysis and reports since the composition of this ad hoc committee on the 3rd of July, 2024. These questions may seem difficult, but I am confident that we are on a mission to make a difference by the grace of God. We have accepted this huge responsibility with the resolve to make a difference. We are also staking our integrity and safety in order to develop an efficient and functional regime that guarantees the transparent management of strategic national resources, endears serious investors to our petroleum industry, and create more opportunities for our people at home and abroad. Why are you here? Every stakeholder invited here plays significant statutory role and collaborates to provide comprehensive oversight, regulatory compliance, security, and policy direction to address and mitigate any act of economic sabotage in the Nigerian petroleum industry. For instance, Standards Organization of Nigeria is responsible for setting and enforcing quality standards for products and services. In this context, it ensures that petroleum products meet specified quality standards, preventing substandard products that could lead to economic sabotage. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited oversees the exploration, production, refining, and marketing of petroleum and petroleum products in Nigeria. Its involvement is crucial in providing data, operational insights, and identifying potential areas where economic sabotage could occur within the supply chain. Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority regulates the midstream and downstream sectors of the petroleum industry. It ensures compliance with regulations, monitors operations, and can provide insight into regulatory breaches or inefficiencies that might contribute to economic sabotage. The Nigerian Navy plays a critical role in securing Nigeria's maritime borders. In this context, its role includes preventing illegal bunkering, oil theft, and ensuring the safe transportation of petroleum products across Nigerian waters. Nigerian customs regulate and control the import and export of oil and gas products to ensure compliance with Nigerian laws and international trade agreements while enforcing standards and specifications. Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission regulates the upstream sector of the petroleum industry. Its role involves overseeing exploration and production activities, ensuring adherence to regulations, and identifying any act of sabotage or non-compliance that could affect the upstream operations. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources, of course, is responsible for formulating and implementing policies for the petroleum sector. It provides strategic direction, coordinates activities among various stakeholders, and ensures that policies are in place to prevent economic sabotage. Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency is responsible for regulating shipping, maritime labor, and coastal waters. In the context of the petroleum industry, it ensures the safety and security of maritime operations, which is crucial in preventing illegal activities such as oil theft and unauthorized bunkering. Ministry of Trade and Investment oversees trade policies and investment opportunities. Its role involves promoting fair trade practices, ensuring that investments in the petroleum sector are protected from economic sabotage, and fostering an environment conducive to legitimate business activities. The justifications, ladies and gentlemen, continue for every invited stakeholder. And in the course of our public hearing, we also will be industry-specific, agency-specific, in ensuring that it is not a generalized hearing. We are therefore appealing to all the stakeholders to cooperate with this committee and put the national interest above any form of personal or parochial interest. We are not on a self-serving mission. Rather, we are on a national mission that will significantly redefine the future of our dear country. Our mission is never to witch hunt any individual, corporate entity, or government agency, but to unravel the root causes of fundamental challenges within the petroleum industry and devise a legislative framework to discourage the activities of some rogue actors in the industry. This task is urgent, and the work begins now. We are ready to carry it out with all sense of honor and responsibility. We are also taking it seriously with a view to addressing fundamental issues that pose grave threats to our economic prosperity, fiscal stability, and public health as a federation. In line with our mandate, we will definitely unravel factors and forces aiding sabotage in our petroleum industry. From our findings, we will craft a legislative framework that will entrench global best practices in the industry, open it up for more investments, especially in the midstream and downstream sectors, and end vicious regimes of subterfuge in the petroleum industry. We are utterly committed to this mandate. We shall carry it out without fear or favor. We shall be equitable, fair, responsible, and just to all parties, with a view to promoting and protecting the strategic national interests of our fatherland. Together, dear stakeholders, let us work towards achieving transparency, accountability, and fairness within our petroleum industry. Your collaboration and support are invaluable as we strive to uphold the integrity of our nation's economic landscape. Again, before the last line, let me just emphasize that today's meeting is not a public hearing, and that's why in the course of my remarks, I'd specifically informed on when the public hearings would hold. We will hold from September 10th to the 12th. And within the next couple of weeks, what we're expecting to get from stakeholders and other members, interested members of public, will be their memoranda. And at the public hearing, they also will have time to speak to such memoranda. And the essence of today's meeting is, one, for us to be able to meet with the stakeholders and to be able to also make you to be a part of our agenda setting. And most importantly, to be able to appeal to all stakeholders in the meantime by saying, let the accusations and counter-accusations, stop. We understand the concern of Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians are concerned about ensuring that we do not kill local initiative and local investment will allow them to survive. Just like a lot of Nigerians are also concerned about ensuring that we do not consciously inaugurate a monopoly, which will not serve overriding public interests and which will not be consistent with global best practice standards. All these are issues. But in the meantime, while we work with you to address all of this, we call on all our stakeholders to just ensure that we do not unnecessarily make the system boil. The oil and gas industry for us is a very sensitive and technical one. The international community is interested in what is happening here. Our people are interested because it's the lifeline, of our economy. And so what we're going to have after these remarks, like I said, it's not a public hearing. It would just be, because it's an interactive session, one after the other, we will listen to our honorable ministers who are here. We'll listen to the representative of NNPC, who is, NNPC is, I can't be say represented, NNPC, it's here, and of course, I believe the Dangote group is also here. Plus, if there's any other stakeholder who want to say anything, and you are free to say anything, you can even advise this committee. This committee will work with you. This committee will work with Nigerians. Like I said, there is no time and no room and no reason for any grandstanding. We're here, to work with you as concerned, elected representative of the people, and there's nothing we are doing here that is not known to the critical stakeholders in the leadership of our country. Having said that, I want to say I thank you all for your attention and call on you to please let us all work together towards a shared commitment to the greater good of our nation. I thank you and God bless you.
Developments in the sector in terms of industry performance